Hi there, welcome back to your favorite deep dive show on stories contemporary and consequential for India. This week, 4 quick ones. 1 on foreign policy and 3 domestic, connected with civic governance, but of national importance nevertheless. Let's get going.
两岸同胞血浓于水，祖国统一的历史大势不可阻挡。
Could China take over Taiwan in 2026, like this year? You just heard Chinese President Xi Jinping underscoring his and his country's national resolve for reunification of Taiwan. As New Year resolutions go, this was a menacing one, at least for the citizens of Taiwan. This was Chinese President Xi Jinping is stating in no uncertain terms that 2026 could be the year China goes for the kill and take over Taiwan. There are reasons to believe so. The build-up has been real and visible for the last couple of years, but more so second half of 2025. Excise Justice Mission capped the Chinese mind games and military maneuvers across the Taiwan Straits and beyond this week. This was the 6th largest scale set since 2022, but way more intense, with zones larger and drills explicitly framed as determining external interference, code for the United States and its allies. Picture this: Chinese warships forming a chokehold around the island, submarines lurking below, amphibious landing craft practicing beach assaults, and swarms of J-20 stealth fighters dominating the skies. It felt like a dress rehearsal for the D-Day. Xi made his address to coincide with Taiwan's National Day this Sunday to sound more like a warning. Taiwan's defense minister has said that the cross-straits relations are at their worst in the last 40 years. Early in the year after Taiwan's presidential inauguration, China launched Joint Sword 2025, a massive operation that blocked key sea lanes and practiced long-duration blockades. By summer, they escalated to live-fire amphibious drills on nearby islands, complete with hovercraft disgorging troops and helicopters airlifting commandos. Parallel to Xi hardening his stance, we have seen the PLA's modernization hit warp speed. More Type 075 amphibious assault ships, DF-17 or Dongfang-17 hypersonic gliders and drone swarms capable of overwhelming Taiwan's defenses. China's military edge is undeniable. Taiwan's about 200,000 troops face a PLA juggernaut of 2 million, backed by the world's largest navy of over 370 ships and air force. A blockade could starve Taiwan's 23 million people in just weeks. 90% of its energy imports come by sea, through the same sea lanes. War games by the CSIS and RAND suggest China could take the island in 3 to 6 weeks' time, though at horrific cost. Tens of thousands dead perhaps, and economy shattered. So, with the war machine in place, exercises done and dusted, will this rehearsal become the real show? Maybe, we don't know. But more likely, China would test patience, not just of the United States, but with the rest of the world. 2025's exercises have proved that China can sustain pressure without firing first. Taiwan accounts for 60% of world's semiconductor supplies. There's already diversification of those supply chains happening. Remember, Trump campaign, which surprisingly then, and not so surprisingly now, targeted Taiwan instead of China. His jabs at Taiwan is stealing chip business. Remember in 2024, the just-released National Security Strategy paper of the United States, which we focused on in the last episode of the show, makes it clear that America is willing to look the other way in case China gets up close with Taiwan. Of course, true to Trump's style of deal-making, for a price. The NSS outlines sanctions packages, AUKUS submarine boosts, and Quad exercises, but no explicit boots on Taiwan pledge. It literally leaves Taiwan to fend for itself. Well, not just Taiwan. the Eastern Hemisphere, so to say, with all the talk of burden sharing in NSS. Because the NSS, as elaborated by US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, sees the world into two halves. One, an arc of American influence, the other, a Chinese sphere. No rewards for guessing in which half Taiwan and Japan lie. Critics call this abandonment. Trump's mega supporters, realism. Taiwan is left relying on its own defenses, of course bolstered by $20 billion worth of US arms, but without the old unspoken guarantee. Europe, too distracted by Ukraine. Japan might join defensively, and that's why we have seen Beijing more offensive of late vis-à-vis Tokyo than Taipei. Now, what about India? In a 2026 Taiwan takeover, New Delhi's position would likely blend caution with quiet alignment against China. There's deep mistrust that keeps surfacing despite the recent attempts at thaw, like it happened in the case of Arunachal Pradesh mentioned. A Taiwan war would stretch PLA resources, potentially easing Himalayan pressure. Maybe India could do something about POK in that period. So we might cheer silently. Publicly, expect concern over unilateral changes to status quo statements from Jaishankar, our External Affairs Minister. India backing on UN clause and freedom of navigation. India has joined US-led drills like Malabar. We have sold BrahMos missiles to Indonesia and Philippines. And we eye Taiwan for semiconductors till we start building our own. But of course, no direct intervention. India's military essentially remains primed for Op Sindoor 2.0 against Pakistan. Quad partner, yes, but Prime Minister Modi prioritizes strategic autonomy. The bottom line is, India opposes and would oppose Chinese hegemony, but won't bleed for Taiwan. So is 2026 the year? What are the odds? According to a Guardian report, they sit at about 20 to 30% in 2026, up from 10% in 2025. China's window narrows. Xi's 2035 modernization goals demand action soon, before the United States rearms with 8 carriers by 2030 or closes the gap. But deterrence holds if costs look unbearable. A blockade tests that first, forcing the world to choose, fight or fold. Taiwan's fate isn't sealed. Taipei responded with its own nighttime combat drills and river blockades. But it's clear, even in the worst of times, the Chinese war machine would easily prevail. President Lai Ching-te's New Year's vow to defend sovereignty is brave. But polls show most Taiwanese want status quo, not war. 2026 could be the year the Taiwan powder keg explodes, built on 2025's intense drills and a US shift towards isolationism. Moving to the next one. A landmark political development panned out in Kerala this week. For the first time in the state's history, the BJP has its mayor in Thiruvananthapuram. Party veteran V.V. Rajesh took oath with G.S. Asha Nath as his deputy. Whether it's just a jinx broken or a long-term trend, let's check out. A traditional left bastion, remember the state gave India's first democratically elected communist government back in the 1950s. It's been a bipolar polity between the CPI-led LDF and the Congress-led UDF since. That entrenched bipolarity was broken this week. A 45 years power run of the left was broken with the BJP coming to power in Thiruvananthapuram Municipal Corporation. The party also won 26 panchayats and made further inroads in urban local bodies like Palakkad, emerging as a competitive third front in pockets of Kerala, if not the entire state. Prime Minister Narendra Modi was effusive in his congratulatory message to the mayor. calling it historic, epoch-making, to be written in golden letters so far as the BJP is concerned. To understand where it is coming from, just go back to 1987 when the BJP won the Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation for the first time and within a decade came to power in Gujarat. A young Narendra Modi was the campaign in charge then. The rise has been gradual. From a vote share of little over 10% in 2016, it climbed to 11.3% in 2021 and then to 15.64% in 2024 general elections. After fiddling for decades, the party won its sole MLA in 2016 when O. Rajgopal got elected from Nemom. But since then has drawn a blank insofar as the state assembly is concerned. The 2024 general elections saw Malayalam star Suresh Gopi win from Thrissur, and so the Thiruvananthapuram win can be seen as a continuity. It is the only district where the party has crossed the 20% vote share mark. There are reasons to believe this could be a more enduring shift in Kerala politics. As Prime Minister said in his letter to Rajesh, people can now clearly see the fixed match between the LDF and the UDF, in which they are friends at the centre and have a friendly contest in Kerala. The state has characterized contrasts like the most literate state in the country with a culture of political violence that can put even Hindi heartland states of Uttar Pradesh and Bihar to shame. Records suggest over 500 instances of murder across the state connected with politics in the last 25 years alone. One district, that of Kannur in north, which also has Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan's seat, Tharmadom, has reported over 300 political killings since 1969. Development pitch, the recent opening of the Visayan Jam port, which saw jousting between all political parties, including the Congress and the left, the possibility of a maritime theatre command coming up in the state capital, a defence manufacturing corridor, and a metro for the Thiruvananthapuram urban agglomeration might have helped the BJP create a buzz around itself. Interestingly, it was the left that was traditionally seen as the Hindu party in the state, despite all the RSS activism, as the Congress cornered minority, largely Muslim sentiment. This has seen the BJP pivot to the Hindu and the Christian vote, with Prime Minister's personal push, from being seen at Christmas prayers in Delhi to sending a delegation to the Vatican during Pope's anointment, all made of Kerala BJP leaders. And there seems to be a plan and some bench strength. Rajesh was not the first choice to be mayor. The plan was to have Kerala's first woman IPS officer R. Srilekha take the charge, only to be jettisoned as the deputy mayor post had to go to a woman as per reservation roster. Kerala is not Gujarat, and the BJP knows that. The state's social fabric, with its strong leftist leanings and high literacy, presents unique challenges. Yet the breach of the Thiruvananthapuram Marxist fortress is a psychological victory. Will this change translate into assembly seats in 2026, just April or May? That remains to be seen. But one thing is certain, Kerala politics will never be the same again. The rise of the BJP in Thiruvananthapuram is not just a local story, it is a chapter in the evolving narrative of Indian democracy where even the most entrenched bastions can fall when the winds of change blow strong. Maybe it applies to BJP also in some states. Coming as it does, just ahead of the assembly elections this year, the BJP seems gung-ho about making further inroads. The average vote share of 17% is 2 percentage points above 2021 assembly results and shows its scalability in about 34 seats. There are constituencies like Nemom where BJP emerged the single largest party, prompting the state president Rajiv Chandrasekhar to suggest that he might contest from there. There are gaps for sure. As John Brittas of the CPI pointed out, the BJP's vote share has come down from the 2024 general elections mark, though of course higher than 2021. The argument is that in some pockets, the Congress vote shifted to the BJP, even if that is a consolation. For the left, the BJP is not complaining. The reason I thought of looking at this development is the curious political geography of Kerala. With its strong left inclination, its voted communist since the time of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. In fact, so strongly that Nehru himself dismissed the first democratically elected communist government, that of EMS Namboodiripad, in 1959, only 2 years into its term. Just last year, there was a book called Spying in South Asia by King's College, London-based academic Paul McGarr, in which he suggested, based on some recently declassified MI5 and MI6 documents, that dismissal of the Namboodiripad government was a CIA operation. In times that we have been discussing the harmful impact of duopolies in the corporate world, from Indigo, Air India to Airtel Jio, in the political space at least, the left and the UDF duopoly stands broken in Kerala democratically. And when it's mayors, Mumbai had its own story this week. Let's go to the next one.
हमारा तो ये उम्मीद है कि एक दिन मुंबई की मेयर हमारी हिजाब पहनने वाली महिला बहन भी बनेगी इंशाल्लाह। बन सकते थे कि पहले भी मुसलमान लोग बने। भारत के प्रेसिडेंट बन चुके हैं एपीजे अब्दुल कलाम आजाद जी, वाइस प्रेसिडेंट रह चुके हामिद साहब, कितने सारे गवर्नर हैं जो बने हैं मुसलमान। मगर ये बोलना कि नहीं, ये बोलने वाला ही बनेगा, ये बिल्कुल असंवैधानिक है। ऐसा नहीं, जनता जनार्दन है।
एमआईएम के नेताओं को अपनी पार्टी पाकिस्तान में लेके जानी पड़ेगी, इस्लामाबाद में लेके जानी पड़ेगी, कराची में लेके जानी पड़ेगी, क्योंकि ये हमारे भारत देश में, ये हमारे मुंबई में, जिसका डीएनए हमेशा हिंदुत्व का रहा है, उस हमारे मुंबई में इसकी पॉसिबिलिटी नहीं है।
This jaw happened between Waris Pathan of the AIMIM and Nitesh Rane, cabinet minister from the BJP in Maharashtra. This is election time. Mumbaikars would vote to choose their city fathers, including a mayor, for the Brihan Mumbai Municipal Corporation or BMC on January 16. Elections call for galvanizing constituencies. Mobilization calls for polarization. So that explains comments from both the sides. And since Waris Pathan has started this, why not a Muslim mayor? Why not? You know why some secular politicians of India wear skull caps and hold iftars? Because they want to meld with their electorate. They want to be seen as one with those they represent, even if for optics, even if this is pseudo-secularism. So if Waris Pathan fancies a Muslim mayor, he or she be better ready to bow down to Lal Bagcha Raja. The mayor would not represent all the Mumbaikars if Siddhi Vinayak is not seen as the presiding deity of the city. With Christmas at the Mahim church thrown in, the same where Amitabh Bachchan played the role of Antony in the Bollywood flick Amar Akbar Antony. I think Waris gets the drift. You can't be a Wahhabi radical fancying the jingoistic idea of Goswami and still think of becoming the mayor of Mumbai. Unless, of course, the demographic change, as warned by the Tata Institute of Social Sciences, this report of Hindus becoming a minority over some decades happens. If Waris is fancying that, then he has no option but to deal with Nitesh Rane. And last, he has to stop guilt-tripping India on 1947. Muslims sought a nation for themselves and got Pakistan. Those who could not go, either for logistics or for India's essentially Hindu large-heartedness, cannot resurrect the same arguments that led to Pakistan. Unfortunately, Waris Pathan's Muslim mayor pitch smacks of one of Jinnah's 14 points that led to the Lahore resolution of the Muslim League and the birth of Pakistan. Mumbai does not need a Muslim mayor or a Hindu first citizen. It needs municipal governance and a set of city fathers who can deliver civic hygiene and not the apology of an urban slum that Mumbai looks from the aircrafts and the flights landing at the Santa Cruz airport. Every June, Mumbai braces for chaos as monsoon lashes the city. Roads turn into rivers, trains crawl to a halt. Every monsoon makes the Shanghai dream of Mumbai look even more distant. The BMC's annual budget for 2025 was a staggering 52,000 plus crores, bigger than the budgets of some of the smaller states in India. Yet the city's drainage system remains woefully inadequate. Governance failure is the real culprit. As India's financial capital, Mumbai contributes over 6% to the national GDP. Its governance cannot be reduced to communal arithmetic. The mayor should be chosen for vision and execution, not for religious identity. A Hindu or Muslim mayor will not stop waterlogging. A competent mayor will. A Marathi or non-Marathi mayor will not fix potholes. An accountable mayor will. And while we are on municipal governance, the last segment on a national shame that we have lived through this week.
और 2-3 दिन में पता नहीं एकदम ऐसा पानी आया है कि बस बीमारी हो गई।
पानी का इन्फेक्शन हुआ है पानी से।
मेरा सारा फोन है सर।
Indore, India's cleanest city for the last decade, lived through an ignominy this week. At least 14 people died after drinking contaminated water as leaking drainage pipes got mixed with water supply lines in Bhagirathpura area of the city. If this can happen to India's cleanest city, and Indore feels like our cleanest city, to be honest, when you visit, then you can imagine what the state of urban governance we have in India. It's a mess. It's a collective shame. Indore is criminal negligence that needs swift justice. It is surprising that no heads have rolled. The in-charge minister should have been sacked. The municipal commissioner should have been booted out. The mayor should have got the marching orders. Instead, we had the ugly pictures of a senior minister, Kailash Vijayvargiya, using uncouth language with the media, trying to put the onus entirely on the bureaucracy, scapegoating contractors, even as the plan to get clean water to the neighborhood got dumped in files. Look at this letter, written by municipal corporator of the concerned ward, Kamal Waghela. It is more a mea culpa of a rusted system that breathes on corruption and neglect. Here the corporator is listing all the efforts put in by the people, petitioning all levels of government from the local municipal office to the chief minister's complaint window. Yet, for a year, the requests to replace the rusted, leaking sewage pipes gathered dust. It took 8 months to reach tendering stage, and then for another 6 months, nothing happened. More than a dozen lives are lost to poisonous water. Hundreds are struggling in hospitals. Thousands are affected. Indore is symptomatic of our urban governance mess. Most likely, the tender never reached execution stage because the government is low of cash, having transferred most money to the Ladli Behnas as part of direct benefit transfers scheme. Indore episode has happened fresh out of the Aravali judicial scandal, which was clearly a case of lack of oversight on what harm a lazy decision can cause to our ecology, if not outright corruption. The Aravali verdict was ameliorated by the Supreme Court itself, thankfully, but not before the national capital region lived through toxicity of 400 plus AQI. That included those Supreme Court justices, by the way, breathing same poisonous air. In a classic coming together of urban governance disaster and broken window economics, our lordships even toyed with the idea of reducing GST on air purifiers. If you have to die, at least die cheap. That seems to be the lesson from Delhi to Indore, BJP governments included. Thanks for watching.